For the third time in our history, a former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has been indicted. This time, the indictment has to do with his attack on the electoral system he hopes will make him president again. Tuesday, Trump was handed the indictment from a federal grand jury in an investigation led by the Justice Department's special counsel, Jack Smith, into the assault on the Capitol on January 6, 2021. It accuses former President Trump, the current GOP frontrunner for president, of trying to overturn the results of the last presidential election. It charges him with 4 counts, including conspiracy and obstruction. CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa has the latest for us.
According to the indictment, for more than 2 months following Election Day, the defendant spread lies that there was fraud in the election and he had actually won. These claims were false, and the defendant knew they were false.
The attack on our nation's capital on January 6, 2021, was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant.
Sources tell CBS News former President Trump's legal team is now mapping out a new strategy to push back on the charges, shifting blame onto lawyers who were advising him at the time of the aftermath of the 2020 election. In a recent social media post, Trump noted his attorneys met with the Department of Justice, saying they explained in detail that I did nothing wrong and was advised by many lawyers. Sources say the strategy could involve trying to pin blame on John Eastman, Trump's former lawyer, who sought to have former Vice President Mike Pence refuse to certify the 2020 election results, and presented Trump with a memo outlining a plan to do so. Trump has privately told allies that he believed John Eastman's plan came from a conservative lawyer, and that following Eastman's counsel does not mean he conspired against the United States. But those familiar with the special counsel's work say Trump's conduct is being deeply investigated, and that prosecutors are skeptical that Trump was just following advice.
Just because an attorney gives you advice, an attorney does not provide a defense if the attorney is suggesting you go out and violate a criminal law. That's not a defense. There has to be a good faith belief that what you're doing is legitimate.
And Robert Costa joins me now, as well as CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane. Bob, I'll start with you. What role does the president play in this indictment? Center stage or bit player?
Center stage, and the context of his role is really important because, as you remember, in the wake of the Capitol attack in 2021, congressional Democrats led an impeachment inquiry in the House, and it was about inciting a riot, inciting an insurrection. And it was about Trump's actions that day at the rally to push people towards the Capitol. What this indictment shows is that while that day of the Capitol attack was certainly an important chapter in this story, it's not the whole story. And the special counsel is alleging a widespread, months-long criminal conspiracy to overturn a presidential election under fraudulent means by saying the election was rigged, and by saying that falsely and without evidence, putting into motion something that took American democracy to the brink.
Scott, one of the charges is conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, something dozens of January 6 rioters have already been convicted of. Tell us about that charge. You're familiar with it from covering all those cases.
Justice Department has built quite a bit of muscle memory charging this unique charge of official procedure obstruction. The official proceeding, the official procedure was the counting of the electoral votes on January 6th, which was very much obstructed. There have been more than 310 defendants who were part of that riot, according to prosecutors, who faced that very charge. And the Department of Justice has secured a lot of guilty pleas, a lot of convictions, and a lot of prison time on that charge, a felony alone. But it speaks to something broader, John. We have casually here at the courthouse and in the nation referred to this special counsel as a January 6th investigator, somebody investigating January 6th. To a degree, that's right. But when Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, appointed Jack Smith, he said it was an investigation of efforts to overturn the 2020 election, not just January 6th. And this indictment speaks to that. You see all these accusations of fake electors schemes, knowingly perpetuating false election claims allegedly by the former president. There is this nugget in the case that references January 6th. But what they're saying in this indictment, John, is that Donald Trump allegedly took advantage, exploited, in their words, the violence of January 6th as an opening to call members of Congress and seek further delay of the proceedings, a further obstruction. That's where January 6th comes in this 45-page indictment, kind of at the end, but as a tool used by the president, allegedly, to obstruct.
A tool at the end of a long, what the special counsel calls scheme. Bob, there are 6 unindicted co-conspirators. 4 are lawyers. What does that suggest to you?
It suggests that Trump's upcoming defense, that he was following the advice of counsel and operating within the bounds of the Constitution, could be really under scrutiny by prosecutors in the coming months as this heads toward a trial. In essence, if a lawyer tells you to do something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's legal and perfect to just take their advice. If a lawyer tells you to go steal a car, it doesn't make it so you're not going to be arrested if you steal the car. Well, the lawyer told me to do it. Well, you still have a responsibility as a citizen to live and operate and have your conduct within the bounds of the law. So Trump's defense here is not going to hold water in the eyes of the prosecutors. And so that's why they're moving forward in an aggressive way. And they're looking at Trump in this indictment as someone who's not just listening, but pushing John Eastman to confront Mike Pence in the Oval Office and say, you have to do this. Listen to John, he said to Pence. And he's talking to Rudy Giuliani, pressuring Giuliani to go talk to Republicans in the states, not the other way around, to go to the Four Seasons in Philadelphia, not the hotel, but the landscaping facility, and to talk about how they're going to push Pennsylvania to overturn the election. So it's Trump's fingerprints. Do more, say more, get out there. His lawyers, in his view, based on our reporting, were soldiers, not just lawyers.
Right. Shopping for lawyers who would tell him what he wanted to hear. Scott, finally to you, judges are so important in these cases. What do we know about the judge who's going to hear this case?
It jumped right out at me as soon as I saw the case number, John. This case appears to be destined for Judge Tanya Chutkin, a 2014 appointee of former President Obama, who, while handling the January 6 riot cases, has been noticeably, distinctively vocal about the horrors of January 6th and the people who gave rise to it. She has been unbridled in her criticism, less muted than other federal judges in this courthouse. It's a noteworthy assignment. In the Florida federal criminal case, it's been assigned to a Trump appointee. There are Trump appointees in this courthouse, but this case didn't go to one. It goes to Judge Tanya Chutkin. But Thursday, when Trump appears here at 4 p.m. Eastern time for his appearance, it'll still be before the magistrate judge who accepted the indictment today, Judge Mokshila Upadhyay. Then it heads to Judge Chutkin, likely in short order.
Scott MacFarlane and Robert Costa, thank you both very much.